Collins' discussion around the culture of discipline in Chapter 6 of Good to Great stood out to me for several reasons. First, I find the idea to be logical and pragmatic. Collins unpacks the culture of discipline by explaining that it involves having disciplined people, thoughts, and actions. All three of those components are essential in moving any institution forward. An institution that is going to have its stakeholders thrive must have leaders who understand the importance of establishing ambitious and attainable goals and then putting the right people into place in order to achieve those goals. Additionally, those people need to be able to think strategically and creatively in order to attain the goals set forth by those leaders. This is essentially what drives the culture of discipline. Collins clearly explains that discipline in this sense does not equate to authoritarianism. Rather, he uses discipline to refer to leaders being steadfast in the goals they set for their institutions. Another way to look at this is that in a culture of discipline, leaders hold all stakeholders accountable for the success of the institution. Leaders measure success according to how well they move towards or achieve the ambitious goals that they set. These leaders and their people are accountable to themselves. Collins points out that leaders of great institutions do not waste time and effort on training people who are ill-suited to achieve the established goals. Instead, they bring on people from the outset who have the skills, talent, and motivation that align with the goals of the institution. These disciplined people who have the desired skills, talent, and motivation are usually able to think creatively and strategically in order to achieve those goals. In a culture of discipline, leaders and their people are able to think creatively and strategically within a framework, which is punctuated by the goals of the institution. When applying the idea of the culture of discipline to generating, managing, and aligning resources in schools, I think the culture of discipline must begin at the top with the superintendent and the goals he or she establishes for the district. Usually, the superintendent states these goals clearly in the district's strategic plan. From there, I assert that the district's human resources leaders work in collaboration with district and site-based leaders to put the right people into key positions, just as Collins describes in Chapter 6. Having key people whose talents, skills, and motivation align with the goals of the district will be key in having the superintendent be able to execute actions towards achieving the goals of the strategic plan. Leaders in the Human Resources Department can provide support and training to district and site-based leaders on how to effectively staff their departments and schools with disciplined people. In addition to personnel management, the superintendent needs financial resources and a time management plan in order to effectively execute the district's strategic plan. Money and time are always resources that district and school leaders must leverage strategically and intentionally, as these are resources that do not usually come in abundance. In terms of time management, I argue that having the right people situated within the right positions and roles throughout the district will allow the superintendent to distribute leadership, and this can be a time-saving measure. Additionally, other leaders, both district level and site-based, can exercise the same strategy of distributed leadership. The superintendent and his or her cabinet, along with the school board, can work together to prioritize the goals of the strategic plan. By doing this, the superintendent can make appropriate and intentional budgetary decisions. I believe that the culture of discipline supports research in the educational leadership field around leadership versus management. According to researchers such as Fullen and Heifetz, leaders are influencers. Leaders have the ability to influence their people and increase their capacity by giving them the opportunity to collaboratively establish goals for the institution and then achieve those goals, thereby ensuring success. Conversely, we tend to think of managers as maintaining the status quo and operating within the present state of circumstances rather than from a bigger, more visionary picture. A leader is needed in a culture of discipline because a culture of discipline is created through vision and big picture thinking. A leader is needed in a culture of discipline because he or she needs to be the visionary that guides the establishment of ambitious goals. Finally, and probably most importantly, a leader is needed because he or she needs to be able to influence his or her people to be able to see the bigger picture and to structure their actions around achieving that vision.